Welcome back to the Blue Sense podcast. Joined today by Nathan and Angus from MKTG. Angus, thanks for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming down for our event tomorrow. A little bit of a precursor for that. We're going to hit you guys up for some predictions for 2026. So if we start with what brand and performance and all of that sort of landscape is going to look like next year, both of us sort of dabble around the frame of organic content and organic channels, but neither of us ever play directly there. What do we think that looks like next year, and what's its role across performance and retention?
Jeez. Yeah, I'll take the floor, I guess. I think organic's going to be more important than ever. And good organic content, not like shitty, excuse my French, following the trends, but like good, real, authentic content that actually moves the needle in terms of brand awareness, attracting new views to your business. Yeah, it's going to be irreplaceable.
Yeah, I agree. I think organic's always been important. It's probably more important now. I know you and me are personally double downing on organic trying to in our personal worlds. No, but I think it's the cheapest channel to get solid growth out of. I think it's also probably one of the hardest channels as well.
Yeah, like if organic was predictable, it'd be better than ads.
Yeah,
Like it's just not.
yeah,
And it's extremely hard.
yeah.
And I don't know, there's some really good brands out there. I talk about it all the time. We have some clients who they get more business from organic than anywhere else, but they crush it. And they have full teams dedicated to organic content, new ideas, capitalizing on trends. It's just, yeah, it's very hard to do.
Yeah. Well, we were sitting down with a prospect the other day, multi 8-figure retailer, probably close to 9 actually. And I used one of our clients, Cook Eye, as an example for them, which is they have 2 full-time content like creators that they do other stuff in the business, but they make a ton of content for their IG and TikTok. And it's unreal because they just go into stores, they show all the new products. It's just infinite content hitting platforms. And that content does like millions and millions of views a week. And it's all showcasing product. It's all people actually in the business. And it's also organic that just props up paid and everything else in the business. And then there's obviously the retailer that we were talking to, who their organic strategy is just product photos on IG. And then sometimes there's a sprinkle in of some UGC. And that's the whole feed. And then their question was like, why are we only getting 20 likes on our posts? And it's like, well, there's no connection being built there with anyone. And so even just one hire on a retail business that big to just be like a good pick on a content creator full-time in-house, and then they're just cranking content across socials, huge ROI.
Yeah, there's this, I don't know if you've seen it, there's this agency, I think they're called the Attention Seekers or something. It's like a creative agency, but their Instagram has like 400,000 followers as an agency because their content girl is just phenomenal. And it's like, I think the 2 main constraints are, which will probably reveal itself heavy in 2026, is the ability to create a lot of content, because organic's a channel that requires 30 to 60 pieces a month, every single month at least, if not more. And then the ability to like know what good content looks like. And then more and more brands relying on AI, which I know we'll probably talk about at length in this, but it really creates a moat for the brands who know how to make good, authentic, real, organic content, and then can do it at scale. Like if you solve for those 2 things, like that's all it is, but they're the 2 hardest things in the world to solve for.
Yeah, 100%.
So I mean, AI is one component I'd love to go deep on. Where does third party fit into that? I think like, particularly with the smaller brands that we meet with, there's still this like assumption that influencer, quote unquote, as a channel means these crazy CPMs that just don't make any sense in the P&L compared to just someone that's got 20,000 really engaged followers and makes really cool content that you can reuse in the business elsewhere. What does that look like?
I just think it's like, it's a skill issue. It's like picking influencers. Like you need to have, like I was just met with a 9-figure retailer of ours, and like one of the things he was saying is going to be the biggest moat in 2026 is taste. Like just, especially with AI, it's like who has the best taste? And being able to like identify influencers that align with your audience but have a good engaged following. I don't think it matters if they have 5,000 or 5 million. It's the sort of level of engagement and how much pull they have. Like you look at, there's plenty of great examples of influencers that have 10 to 20,000 followers that are super engaged and they're valuable to any business. Then you say, look at someone like Adam Sullivan, millions across platforms, any brand he partners with, that goes bananas. And it's just because of the engagement. So I think it's, for influencers, I still think it's a really viable channel if you know how to pick them.
Yeah, I agree. There's another 9-figure retailer who hopefully comes on board. And their whole to market strategy has been influencers. Their paid presence is very, very small, respective to their D2C online rev. And like, yeah, it's a skill issue, right? Like they've been excellent at choosing influencers and like probably having consistency in the taste and associations that they're making through the market, rather than just like, people see influencers as an easy money opportunity. And so they just go to Instagram, DM 50 people, 3 people say, yes, cool, pay them 10 grand, hope for the best. And it's like, are those the people that you want to be associating the brand with, number one? And then number two, like what's engagement look like? What do all the metrics look like across actual proper vetting of creators? Kind of a side note though, is that I think influencers is great and it's a good channel, but I also think there's the channel is still hiring in-house. Like the Kinso guys have kind of crushed it on that, which is their whole go-to-market strategy is just hire a bunch of pre-existing content creators that are super small, but clearly are like Gen Z and know how to make good content, and then just bring them in-house and get them pumping content for the brand on their personal socials and then their company socials. And it's like they'd rip like 1 million views a day across all of the profiles.
I see it as different channels. Like the third-party influencers should be completely separate to your organic content strategy. Like at Kinzo, they've nailed the organic content, or what people are calling like EGC, like that employee-generated content. But influencers, it's just another quiver in the bow, I guess. Like it's another channel to use. But I think your own organic content that you own should be more of a priority than those third parties and influencers. But that's not to say you can't also go down that influencer route and see really good success.
So I could hire a bunch of small influencers. I could hire someone in-house. Is 2026, or why isn't 2026 the year I couldn't just hire a VA and have them in Nano Banana Pro 24?
Because it'll be shit. It's just taste. Like you can't think content is not just scale. It's a quality then scale, I think. I mean, when you look at my Instagram, it's not good. So like, don't take my word for it. But like when it comes to brands and the brands we work with that do really well, they're so particular. Like the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes into creating a good piece of content, or at least the amount of skill. Like it might be easy for them, but they've developed that muscle where they know what good content looks like and they can come up with ideas and execute really quickly. Like AI is not something that, I don't think AI is something that people will connect with with organic content. Like I don't think any human wants to like sit there and watch like funny AI reels all day. Like, you know, it's connecting with, and back to the Kinzo, it's like they've created their own world. Like they've got their own world. It's almost like The Office, like that TV show. It's like you feel like you're watching people that you know, and that's the most important thing, I think, is the human connection with it, which you can't get with a VA and Nano Banana. Maybe we'll be able to by the end of next year. Who knows?
Yeah, I agree.
It's interesting because I had a conversation with another agency founder, I feel like maybe a month or two ago. His sort of take was AI is going to make every agency a lot more profitable. I sort of disagree with that quite harshly. I think it'll make good agencies more profitable, but I think it's going to send the bad ones into the dirt more quick, because the arbitrage of just having the technical skill set is going to go to closer and closer to zero. So how do you guys see AI influencing, for example, if we start with something like technical media buying, versus effectively as, you know, levers in platform?
Yeah, I said this on a podcast the other day. I can't even remember who I did the podcast with, which was that the costs, so like the 2K meta ads agency retainer model to just manage your ads, dead.
Yeah.
Like dead, because the ability to run your own ads these days on like just a super simple technical structure with a couple creators, it's not rocket science, particularly on smaller businesses. Like that's why community and coaching groups have done so well, is because if you're doing like 20K a month in rev, you don't need some kind of crazy meta ads quant expert figuring out how to structure the account. But as you then start to go up market, I think the up market positioning sticks, and I think it sticks hard, because in a world where you use like an AI software that just outputs, it's just like managing your media, but you have no idea what's going on. I think it becomes even more important to actually know what's going on and know how to pivot. And we see this in big accounts all the time, which is that like the number one mistake of big accounts, which is so easy, is that all the spend just flows into existing customers.
Yeah.
It's just because they're not watching it like a hawk. They're just running a simple structure. They're just hoping for the best. They don't think there's much technical skill required, which there isn't at low levels, but high levels there is. So I think like the bottom end of the market will collapse because you don't need them.
Yeah, I think like, and you're already sort of seeing this, or at least we've discussed it at length. You'll have those agencies, they'll have to become even more commoditized. I still think they'll exist, but they'll have to go even further down market and just sort of be like a tool, like a manager of AI tools. And then you have the people who go and you sort of paying them for the strategy. Like you're either paying for the labor and just the commoditized service, or you're paying for the brains and the strategy and the people thinking. What they both have in common though is people like brand owners, they still want to pay to sort of outsource the accountability in a sense. Like they don't want to have to worry about it. They just want to make sure that someone's trusted is managing it, whether that's as simple as running the AI for, really cheap retainer, or actually thinking and applying strategic insights, analyzing the data and making the decisions. So they'll exist. It'll just part like the Red Sea, I think, in terms of the level of service.
Yeah, like people are going to go down further down market. $2,000 retainers become $200 retainers.
Then, $2.99 a month, like we'll click the button, we'll tell the AI to go, and we'll just make sure it doesn't break.
Yeah.
And that'll be it.
It's almost back to where it was like 15 plus years ago for me. Selling websites for $399 or something.
Yeah. And it's like a $399 a month management fee.
Yeah.
It's like what they, do nothing. That's it.
What about your world in terms of like flows, extreme personalization,
Like
all this kind of thing?
AI will definitely become more prevalent. The same guy that I mentioned earlier that I was just speaking to before, it's like things like copywriting and design, like it'll just become less of a moat. Like that's no longer your moat. Like that stuff will become very easy to do. It's getting easier. It's going to be the strategic thinking and actually being able to help the business achieve their commercial goals. That'll be what they pay for. I think there's plenty of tools out there, like AI flows and stuff, that I have very strong opinions on. Like that is not a good product yet. I think the thing is with those AI, like anything where AI automates the work, like it sends and creates all the email flows for you and chooses the best time to send them, or it, allocates your media spend perfectly. Like I think it just outsources the thinking from any human. And that's where you probably run into a lot of issues, because a lot of crap slips through, especially because the product is still new. Like the people who are adopting that AI stuff now, they're kind of just like guinea pigs for, is this going to work? And then I think in 5 years or something, or maybe 1 year, will be when they become really mainstream and people work out how to use them best. But it's not really, like, ask anyone who's used AI anything, it doesn't perform well. Like AI creative, AI emails, AI copy, if you do that and you don't touch it and have human input, it sucks. Like it's really bad.
Does the dumb label work really well?
Yeah.
Doesn't do the thinking.
It'll build you a template, but you wouldn't publish it without looking at it unless you want to take some risks. But
yeah, fair. Shouldn't AI be driving 25% of your revenue there?
No. I don't know, what world is that living in? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just such a buzzword. It's like, oh, AI. Like,
Yeah.
Everyone freaks out. And like they think it's gonna like solve all their problems. Like, oh, our customer retention sucks. Like if we just throw an AI at it, like it'll fix it. It's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I think people are scared of missing the bus.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's like, oh, the bus is coming, and if I'm not on it, I'll miss like a big money opportunity where I can go from 5 to 10 mil just off.
Yeah, but like even the profitability thing, like people are like, oh, AI is gonna make me way more profitable. Like we have implemented and incorporated a ton of AI into our delivery service with our agency, we've not become more profitable because the costs go elsewhere. Like you reinvest into another human to do something else, or now you need to do more thinking behind it. And like the cost finds a way to show up elsewhere. It's sort of just probably redistributing it into more efficient things. So your business becomes more efficient. It maybe can grow faster, but it's not like you're just like making all this extra cash all of a sudden and just banking it.
There's no value arbitrage in it either, because if everyone's got access to that tool for next to nothing, then like I said, what you're doing is like just getting the same advantage that the agency down the street has.
Yeah.
You still need to spend the money elsewhere to get the growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's how like agency pricing works, right? Which is that if your gross margin is too good, there's a risk because competitors can just come in and just operate at a lower gross margin and take all your clients. And so you need pricing power, but if you just overprice, it's like you just introduce massive amounts of risk into your client portfolio. And so, yeah, the cost will redistribute elsewhere, or you'll just have to lower prices.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah. Or someone will just come in, implement all your AI stuff and just serve it half your price.
Yeah, like it's probably an arbitrage for like a few months, like at max. Like
Yeah.
if you decide as a brand or an agency owner, like I'm going to cut all my humans and just build it all as AI, like you'll have a few months of a really nice P&L and then you're fucked. And that's it. So, and everyone also blends into like the same. And I know like we discussed this earlier today, but if you're a brand using AI creative or like AI copy or like AI to run your strategy, is like you just have this weird market where everyone looks and sounds and feels the same and does the same thing and there's no uniqueness. And then the brands who actually win and stand out long term are the ones who sort of stray away from that crowd. So I think in both like agency or e-com or anything, it presents more of an opportunity for the brands who, you know, they use AI to their advantage for the efficiency, but they work out how to pivot and still differentiate themselves in the market with using AI to assist that.
Which, I mean, so I didn't have this on my notes, but that sort of brings about another interesting question, that if we move away from AI in 26, what does the coaching model look like? Because I think I watched a piece of content before I boarded at Blue Sense. You guys were discussing this specifically. It was exactly that problem with AI tools. You're just going to this like race to everything being completely homogenized. I've probably had 4 or 5 conversations in the last week with brands that are just approaching that scale where they're getting a little bit too big probably for their coaching group. And the recommendations that they're getting are like, I'm just getting recommended the same thing as the 7 other brands that are on my particular call.
Yeah.
And so there's no upside for me as a individual operator.
Well, what the coaching groups do is they then just release a new tier where you can just pay more and you're in a room with less people, so now it feels more personalized. But like, yeah, I think most brands come to that natural conclusion. It's like they take on a resource, they maximize it as much as they can, whether it's the learnings out of the coaching group, and then they sort of understand like I've, you know, sponged that resource as much as I can. Now I need to go and apply learnings from elsewhere. Like, you know, they're sort of agile in that way. But yeah, I don't know. The coaching groups, like, again, it sort of comes back to that outsourcing accountability. Like as a business owner in any like vertical or industry, you can only think about so much. So you just need to rely on other people to make certain decisions. And I think with those coaching groups, a big part of it, whether it's them recommending AI tools or them recommending an ad account structure, like they're genuinely just looking for someone else to make the decision for them so they don't have to think.
Yeah. I think we have a balanced view on the coaching groups, because I know the video you're referring to, which is, I think they're good, but I also think they're like not a perfect solution for people as they achieve scale. I think they like solve problems, like they solve problems that agencies don't solve, but then agencies solve problems that the coaching groups don't solve. Yeah, it's annoying that the coaching groups say that agencies all suck.
Yeah. And then they own them.
Yeah, and then they own agencies.
Yeah.
There's little referrals out there.
Yeah. I don't know. Coaching, they're great. Like, don't get me wrong. I've referred people to go and join coaching groups. I've probably sent them like 30 clients. Like, it's a lot of money for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a different solution for everyone. Like, there's a scenario for every possibility. There's this, like I made a reel or a LinkedIn post about this the other day. There's brands that have scaled by having their team extremely lean and doing nothing but hire agencies. There's brands that have scaled never touching agencies and building a great in-house team. There's brands that have scaled with a few people in coaching groups. Like, there's success stories for everything. Like, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It's really just dependent on the founder and their skill set to a degree.
Yeah, I agree. I think the market sits as like 30% of people should end up in coaching, 30% should end up in agencies, 30% should end up in-house, 10%, I don't know, never scale.
Yeah. If you look at the really big businesses, like the businesses that achieve real scale, it's a blend. Like they've got agencies to solve specific problems. They've got great in-house teams, and they probably go and steal nuggets from coaching groups. Like all those businesses that the coaching groups advertise that are like, oh, $100 million in revenue, they have all three of those things. They use as much of all the resources as possible, because that's how you probably really break through and achieve quick scale.
Yeah, I don't know any high 8 to 9 figure business that doesn't have in-house team, agencies, plus some degree of coaching or a mentor or someone that's getting paid to come in on a quarterly basis and just say some stuff. Like, everyone has all three, because you want all three at that scale if you have the resources to deploy across all of them, because then you get the pros of everything.
And if you would, and if just like arguing, I guess, against the full in-house method, it's like if your in-house team was good enough that it could beat out every agency and every consultant and every vertical, like
You have an agency.
yeah, to a degree. But it's I don't know. I think it's naive to think you're never going to be able to learn one thing from someone who's not directly employed by you.
Yeah,
like that's crazy.
I mean, if you're an exceptionally talented media buyer, why would you only apply that skill set across one brand and product?
Well, there's that too, and like the hiring,
And that sort of thing.
the recruiting and the hiring of e-com's like a whole different story. I think it's pretty brutal out there.
Yeah, I'm more I've done audits for very large in-house only brands, and they've crushed it in-house, and I've been like, damn, we should steal this performance market. But like so that's good, but you also introduce massive risk being that brand, because their like entire media strategy is hedged on one person in-house who's a weapon, but you can't progress them. Like, what's the career path as you being the only person in an entire division in an e-com brand? You can't really go anywhere. You just got to keep hopping in-house to in-house.
You got to give that person a stake, basically.
Yeah.
And then that business.
Particularly when they realize that, this business is only being held together by my performance marketing. Yeah. Like if I leave, this is going down.
Yeah.
That's Sean Frank's story at Ridge, isn't it? He was an agency.
Yeah.
Connor, and they effectively acquired
Rich.
Yeah. They're doing $200-300 million a year.
Yeah. Good acquisition. All right.
Well, on that, what does firing look like? Where's the biggest leverage if you're a high 7, low 8 figure brand?
If I was a brand, I would probably, it's biased, I'd probably just hire an agency. But if I really wanted to build an in-house team, I would, for the life of me, be trying to poach from top agencies. Like, that's where you're going to get the best talent. Yeah, don't tell. But anyone who works for a top agency would also be silly to leave a top agency. Like, the amount of effort, like I've been on a recruiting push at the moment trying to get good talent to join us, and it's like the amount of effort and time I've had to put in to book a wait list, like a short list of 5 people in the end. Like, take 30, 40 interviews, narrow it down to 5 potential candidates who are good enough to join our agency. And that's fully remote, even taking advantage of like global communities to try to find that. If you were like, I'm on the Gold Coast and I need a really good specialist performance who can be in the office 5 days a week and like join my in-house team, it's like the pool is just so small. Like you're not gonna, it's just too hard, I think, to recruit, or it's just a needle in a haystack like any really, really good person. And agencies feel that every single day as they try to grow their team. So I don't know, I'd be trying to poach from agencies if I was a brand.
Also, what then, because I think, like I say, that's hard to do. Because I've shared this with a lot of much smaller businesses over many years, like before Blue Sense as well, that like the number one reason you're going to struggle to hire that really, really talented person is they're just worth more to a really good agency. And so that agency will spend more time on recruitment and will spend more money on their salary and compensation. And so it's hard to compete with. I've also heard you guys talk about like the struggle for smaller brands, the 6-7 figure brands, of like, you just don't know enough yet to make great decisions around hiring an agency. What are the highest leverage skills that you're looking like? What are those skills that you need in your business before you get to the in-house team?
What do you reckon? I think it's one of the benefit of the coaching groups is like you go and learn the competencies of many different facets of running an ecom business, and then you at least know what to look for. I think that's the long and short of it.
Yeah. Like it's just hard, right? Because the only way you get good at hiring the right people is by hiring the wrong people over and over and over again, and then finally getting good at some point. Like a really good service would be hiring us to hire your in-house performance marketing team. It's like
Recruiters.
yeah. Because like if you go to a recruiter to hire your in-house team as well, like the reality is you can't vet that person's good.
And they're incentivized to just go and hire expensive people.
Yeah, I've hired tens of people through recruiters. Yeah, not necessarily great decisions. So yeah, I think it's like, that's why I do think an agency is a lower barrier to entry at like a 5 million, as long as you can afford it and you've gone through the coaching groups and you understand how to vet. I think if you had the basic skills of Klaviyo, Meta, Google, performance marketing as a whole, you're probably going to have an easier time vetting through an agency that already has top talent inside the business than trying to hire in-house and leveraging all of your growth on one single person under Fair Work and having to, you cut like an agency, goodbye agency.
Yeah.
In-house person, not so easy.
It's also like the opposite is true. Is like, I think emotionally founders get connected to their first few hires. Like you guys have probably seen it where a brand has hired this marketing manager. It's like the first person they've hired, and they might be like a great person, but they're not very good, especially as the brand scales and they haven't actually learned anything else because they've sort of just been like sitting in the seat as the rocket ship of that brand has taken off for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Then 3 years later, they've still got this marketing manager who's their first ever employee and they love them, but like there's been no real skill development, and founders get so attached to their in-house teams culturally and emotionally that it's very hard to make a ruthless decision, where in an agency, or at least ours, I think, like it's quite cutthroat, like high standards. It's sort of, you know, you're not just holding on to someone because you love them and they know your branding well. Like it's a performance environment. So you naturally attract better people and then you retain those good people. Yeah, I think brands, like you said, they don't have that emotional connection with agencies. They can hire them, and if they suck, they let them go. And that's great for the brand because they've learned something and they'll know something for the next person they hire.
Yeah. I also think it's tough as an ecom business because one thing we said in the previous pod was the highest leverage growth tool within a business is good people. So if you have like really incredible people, if you somehow knock it out of the park, first 3 hires, A+ players, like you're just going to be set up for major success. The issue is in an ecom business, you don't hire many people. And so you don't get the reps in to be able to know who's good, who's not, how to fire, how to let people go quickly, don't get connected to people because you see that your business doesn't grow for 1 year. Whereas comparatively being on agency side, like we have hired more people than most ecom brands. Like if you're under a 15-person ecom brand, I guarantee we've hired more people than you have. And so because of that, we're better at hiring people, I would hope.
Yeah.
And so we're better at the highest leverage skill that you possibly have within the business, if that's like what we're arguing. And so you're actually quite disadvantaged if ecom is your first business, you haven't hired a lot of people at a first or like prior business before that, and you're going in, like you're gonna not be very good at that skill. And you're kind of leaving it up to luck.
Yeah. And it's probably like you said, it's the highest leverage skill, but it's the hardest skill to learn, at least that I've found. Like out of everything I've had to learn in growing an agency, from even how to get clients, how to service the clients well, how to do everything in between, finding good talent has by far been the biggest bottleneck. And I just can't imagine how hard that would be for an ecom brand.
Yeah.
Especially in Australia, like small talent pool in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I know. Like one advice to ecom brands is don't get connected with having someone in your office.
And don't have an office.
Yeah, like open up the talent pool to global. And I'm saying like US, UK, Big Four, anywhere, right? Europe, it doesn't matter. You will like immediately get access to better talent just because you're going after a way bigger pool.
Yeah.
Like, but people don't want to do it because they're like, oh, what about the time zone?
Yeah.
Oh, what about they're not in the office?
I need to be able to watch them every day.
Yeah.
And make sure they're working.
No, that's all right. Don't grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
The other thing I hear more and more from new brands, and this was a question you put in my notes earlier today, Blue Sense specifically has been a very finance-led marketing agency from the very beginning.
Mhm.
We meet with more and more brands recently, I've noticed in the last 3 to 6 months, that say, oh yeah, my agency has looked at my P&L. And you sort of probe a little bit deeper on that question. And you go, no, they're not. Like, they've looked at it. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's comprehension. Like, what do they kind of mean?
No.
Is this the year that finance and marketing teams and e-com brands finally like get completely aligned and that finance-led marketing goes mainstream?
This was my prediction for 2025.
Not quite.
Nah, I don't think so, because I think I think back then I was naive when I made that suggestion, because I thought that there's competence that exists in the market, and I think I've been unfortunately demotivated this year by realizing that most people are incompetent, and that bridging finance and marketing is actually taking a very advanced skill set and bringing them together. Like you're talking about proper professional services, not just like throw some people with marketing degrees into a room and hope for the best. And so because of that, like I was hopeful in that is the obvious future of performance marketing, which is bring finance into marketing. And like, I think they're the best services that exist. And that's why our whole positioning is there. But do I think that, oh yeah, that's easy. Just all agencies will just start doing, no, I don't know. Over the past 2 years, I've realized it's not easy.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not trainable across finance, creative, and performance marketing all at the same time. That talent is a very small pool. It's very hard to scale. So no.
Yeah, I think though that's also why more brands have gone in-house to a degree. Like the agency narrative is because most agencies are like, there's a lot of stupid operators out there who like wouldn't even know what a P&L is. And it's like, that's just the reality of it. Like marketers are, traditionally very just creative people and stuff. But there's more and more founders out there going, what the fuck? This agency has said like, my ROAS is so good, but we're not making any more profit like month after month. And they're moving in-house and relying on resources that are teaching them how to use it. But I think it'll create more of a moat for people like you guys, essentially, where it's just, I think it will go that way. AI tools and stuff will make it easier to, map all that stuff out. You don't have to be a genius to do it, but like, yeah, it'll just create more of a moat for the people who are interested in doing that, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a quote from another agency owner in Australia that I got given 2 years ago, which is, I sat down for coffee. Hopefully they're not watching this. Don't clip this as well and put it on my socials.
Name and shame him.
I sat down for coffee, and then we ran through the vision and what we're doing, and how like we want to be super upmarket, and we're continuing to go deeper and deeper on performance marketing, and that our people that are on the accounts are the people you talk to. So it's one person. You don't have account managers. And he said, "Well, what are you doing? You're trying to run the unicorn model." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "You're trying to get like a bunch of really good people into an agency. That doesn't work. That doesn't scale. You need to have like maybe 1 or 2 unicorns, but then just a bunch of like not very smart people, and they can just do the work, and then you can retain them as well." I was like, oh, maybe there's merit to that.
Yeah.
Turns out there's not merit to it. It's not a good idea, but it does show you like how most agencies are structured and are thinking.
Yeah.
And it also shows why most people won't go down the route of going up market and getting very sophisticated with finance and marketing, because you need to run the unicorn model. And the unicorn model is a hard model to run.
Yeah. Well, it's like starting an agency is the world's easiest thing to start. It's like building a good agency is probably the world's hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Attract very good people, retain very good people, deliver a very good service is like hard to hit that trifecta.
Yeah. And then scale the people and make sure that all the end nodes retain the same amount of quality as the founder would have done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that conversation comes up frequently when, both at Blue Sense and earlier in my career, when a brand will be like, oh, we worked with such and such agency previously, they were awful.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you're never surprised.
We've hired 2 of their people, and they're exceptionally bright.
Yeah.
Like great team members. I think that's just down to, it's like most agencies, even the less good ones, we'll politely call them, have at least a couple of very, very bright people. And they're annoying. They just don't hold on to them very long because they get very frustrated. Yeah, good, a bunch of bricks.
They use, like, I've hired one person in particular. You both know I've hired one person from an agency environment, which wasn't very good. And going into that hiring process, I had my reservations because I was like, this agency sucks shit. Like, but then she's been like phenomenal, and it's like the reality is those. Like, it's usually one or two individuals propping up the whole success of that agency and like always carrying the whole weight on their back, and they get frustrated very quickly. I actually think that's probably the best opportunity for brands who are looking to poach from an agency. Find the good people in the shit agency because they want to leave.
Yeah.
And offer them a nice salary and a holiday. Yeah. And they'll probably love to kick the feet up after carrying shit for like 3 months.
To be honest, I think there's huge value in that for brands, because it's like, you're also pitching them on the fact that brand side internal roles compared to an agency role is inherently just way less activity. Like the number of recs you're doing every single day in an agency environment for a single like contributor is so much more stressful. Yeah. And so it's like, hey, here's a cushy salary. Come and so we do have big targets that we want to achieve. Like, you will be challenged, but it's also, you know, you're not going to be getting text messages at 2 a.m. from the figure out what happened on these 20 clients you were meant to be.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't worked brand side since like I was learning e-commerce in my first like ever job in the space, but I don't know what like people do with brand side like half their time. Like, if I'm being honest, like if you're unless you're working for like a multi 9-figure brand that needs, you know, a lot of different moving parts, different facets of their business, maybe like, you know, there's a full-time job in there.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're like a 7 to 8-figure e-com brand and you got like an in-house email marketing manager, it's like, what do you do for them? Like 10 hours a week? If you're good. Otherwise you're really shit and you're paying someone to be shit and take 40 hours to do a 10-hour job.
Yeah. Yeah, no, going in-house is like retiring for most people.
It's the end of the road.
Yeah. It's like, I do nothing.
Yeah. It's nice.
Particularly going in-house and like you also still have an agency and you don't have any other responsibilities. I think that's naturally why the really like good in-house roles, and obviously there's a bunch of partners that we have who are incredible in-house.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of stuff. Like, they're working across the entire marketing function. That's why I always do find it interesting when you have just like an in-house meta ads buyer and you're spending $60K a month on ads. And I'm like, what do you do?
Yeah.
For 40 hours a week. Now, I think you could fill 40 hours a week on a $60K budget with having multiple different people thinking about the account, because you're getting multiple different ideas and perspectives and analysis. So like just one person.
They've got to work weekends, mate. They've got to shift the budget.
Oh yeah, this is what I was just. You read my mind. I was like, they're optimizing on the weekend. As I told you yesterday, I've had 3 different people in the last week ask me, what do you do in an agency model? And I've got to be optimizing my account all weekend.
Yeah, what do you think about the Angus?
It's just like so stupid. It's like, I mean, a good agency, like a really good agency, should be available on the weekend if there's an emergency. Like if shit comes up,
that's without saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and we are.
Yeah.
If shit goes bad, you'll get a response, and you'll get a response pretty quickly.
In like minutes. And a good agency will be there on the weekend. But no, like, what the fuck is people talking about, like optimizing stuff on the weekend? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's like a lot of brand owners get this like ego idea that they're like fucking Warren Buffett selling their like slippers, like doing $1 million a year, and they're like shifting weight, and it's just like, bro, it's like, it's crazy. Like, and that's all ego. It's like, if I need my agency to be like sweating over my fucking ads budget, like my $500 a day ads budget all weekend, it's like, relax.
It is ego.
Yeah.
It is ego for sure. Yeah. It's just like, you better be looking at my ad account over the weekend while I'm spending $500 across the weekend on ads.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. The caveat is Black Friday, obviously. Make sure. Black Friday, we look at all accounts like every hour of the whole weekend.
I don't think Ibra slept for 3 days.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I think most agencies wouldn't be online on the weekend. So I actually think that that's a little bit unique to us as well. But God, optimizing campaigns on the weekend BAU, crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get that. Obviously, we don't do media buying stuff. So like we schedule our stuff for the weekend. But yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't imagine. I did feel like it's such an out of pocket request. And imagine working brand side for a founder like that. You just hate your life.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, fair work. Come later.
So not the year finance goes mainstream. We're walking that prediction back.
Yeah.
If we like zoom out e-commerce as a whole, what are the brands it might be, the categories it might be, the business model? Who's going to crush it next year? Who's going to struggle?
I think I would have said the exact same thing last year, and I think I would have been right, which is that organic content influencers dropping products that are actually good to their audience is the biggest hack in e-com. Like straight to 10, 20 mil. Like you saw this on the 30 under 30 list as well. There was a e-com brand that's female-led organic content.
Sofa dough.
Yeah. I don't think any ads at all.
It's doing like 8 figures off TikTok.
No marketing cost, just good at making content, has an audience, earned media. Like I think that they're going to continue to crush. Adam Sullivan's like a good example of it as well.
Yeah.
On top of that,
I think it's the blend of, it's either the two verticals that will crush it is either really good organic or really good retail / like in person for both the same reasons, which is like that human connection. As AI stuff becomes like more cringe and more prominent as well, just AI slop and people trying to use AI models that look like perfect. It's just being more human and more relatable is going to be the breakthrough. We've seen that this year with how important organic content's been. And the people who can be more human, more raw, more authentic, create their own worlds, Kinzo, even what Adam Sullivan's doing with all the people like that Donnie guy in his like office now, it's fucking crazy. Like they're all creating their own organic world. And the other thing is like less so the founder-led organic stuff, but just retail, like having in-person presence, things that people can go to. So, you know, they're not just fucking AI slopping on their phone all weekend. Like there's life to live and there's things to go and experience, and brands that provide that retail experience will crush.
Yeah, I agree. I made this on a previous pod, which was that AI content, well, I think it'll continue to go up, obviously. Like if cost of producing AI content is nothing, like it is just going to flood the feeds.
Yeah.
And obviously all these new startups will just try to leverage it as much as possible. As you start to crank out more and more AI content and it becomes indistinguishable from proper, real content, then I think it becomes important that people actually know who the person is. So they can identify that, hey, this piece of UGC that I'm seeing right now pushing this product, is this a real person? Like, click on the profile. Is this an actual real person? Can I validate it? Do people follow them? Can I have a connection with them? So I think people like move past content into who's actually in it.
Yeah.
Which I think makes influencers more important.
Yeah. You've seen that with I think that it'll be the long form influencers or the influencers who create a bigger narrative, like your Kinzos and stuff. Like they've created their own world. And it's the same with why streamers are so popular, why YouTubers are so popular and get the biggest pool like Mr. Beast and stuff. It's because people can really immerse themselves in more than just like a 20-second reel or like a carousel of like that person's life, which, you know, can be fake. And that's why like right back to the start, like where people go wrong with hiring influencers is like they hire the pretty perfect influencer with 500K followers who has the most polished life, and people are just seeing through that shit now. Like they don't care. They don't want to be influenced by someone with no flaws. Like they want to have a human connection to a real person. So, you know, whether that's creating your own world in your organic short form or, you know, having long form presence, vlogs, or having events in person, things that people can spend more than like 15 seconds consuming will be the cut through.
Yeah, I think long form is super important. That's why we do long form, you do long form.
Yeah.
Because like I can make as many reels as I want, but I don't think people are going to like get an understanding of what we actually do, what we're recommending in a 60-second clip.
Yeah.
Like I think people need to sit there with you and come for the journey. I think I saw a clip of Hormozy talking about this, which is like one view on a 20-minute video is the equivalent of someone watching 150 of your clips.
Yeah.
Like, so So it's much more important to get someone watching a 20-minute video than just absorbing your short form.
Yeah. You saw Jack Henderson said this in one of his podcasts the other day. Hormozy told him that all of his long form should be live streams now. It's like when you're doing long form, live stream, get people watching, asking questions, interacting, and then, you know, you can do your video as planned, but it's live. So you're actually getting, you know, even your long form's not clipped and polished. It's like super raw, super authentic. You're responding to the audience as you go, sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, more of those experiences will be really important. I don't know how e-com brands can like leverage it necessarily yet, like long form content. There's obviously, you know, founder vlogs and stuff, but then you sort of start going down that like influencer route to a degree. But there will be something there.
Yeah, there was, when we were at the Hormozy event, there was a girl that asked a question there. She was doing 8 mil online, direct to consumer dresses and no ads. The whole strategy was she would go live for 2 hours each day in the warehouse and she would just try on dresses and she'd put a dress on and she'd say, I only have 6 of these. Next 6 people that buy them at $150, get them. And then she'd just stand there until they sell out, be super entertaining, and then just rinse that for 2 hours and do like 10, 20 grand per live. And then she was effectively asking Hormozy, like, how do I scale this? Yeah. And his answer was, you just need to get more like salespeople.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you need 20 lives going at once, which she's doing.
24/7.
Yeah.
That's shifting budgets on the week. You're getting your streamers in.
But that's like a good, like, I don't know if that's the business model to run, but that's a good,
It's an example of it. Yeah.
it's an example.
Yeah.
Like you can do it. You just got to be creative.
Yeah. The missing piece.
Yeah.
And I've got a final AI question that's come to me as we've been talking about this and what you mentioned a moment ago. So we talk about AI and creative. We talk about it in technical execution, flows, whatever it might be. There's obviously the most noise around it, I think, in e-commerce specifically that's unique to e-commerce is Shopify is integrated with whatever LLM now. GPT is obviously the big one. We're all going to be shopping there. We're never going to go to a Google search. We're not going to be influenced by a Reddit feed, by, you know, Instagram, whatever. So my wife, mid-30s, works part-time, has a 1-year-old son, has never, period, logged into GPT or used an LLM. I was talking about this on the weekend. I use it 20, 30 times a day probably in the course of doing my job. My hypothesis is there's way more people like her than there are people like me at the moment still in the market. When I was still working on the search side in SEO 8, 9 months ago, that definitely bared out in the data. It was growing explosively, like 1,000% growth in 6 months, but it's still only 0.1% of your traffic or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? Do you think that takes off as a channel finally? Or I don't know, I still feel like the digital normies of the world are not quite there.
Yeah. My like sort of side hypothesis, which ties into this, is people in e-com or in marketing spend just way too much fucking time using AI that they think it's normal. So they'll like make an AI creative using Nano Banana and go, oh, like this is sick. Like how good does this look? And it's like the average person who's just been hanging out with humans all day goes, what the fuck? That's AI. And it's like you get so desensitized to like AI that you start thinking it's everything. Where realistically, like my parents, my brother, he's like a tradie, like fucking never use AI ever, and they're just like normal people who don't immerse themselves in marketing. So I do share the sentiment, like it'll become more normal, but
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think like with the AI search in Gemini going into Google, I think it'll be forced on people, right? Like your wife actually would use it a lot because she would ask a question on Google,
Yeah.
and she'll get the AI response, which is significantly better. Like Google's a much better platform now because you can treat it like GPT and you'll get actual answers rather than having to blue link your way through to find an answer. But yeah, they're already placing ads right now in the AI searches through search and shopping campaigns. It's like just unclear how you rank there.
Yeah.
Did they just rank in people? So I think like that'll just start being integrated.
I think from like what I've heard, and I don't know left from right when it comes to Google, but it's about like obviously LLMs like go and do whatever they do, scan the internet to find answers and make suggestions and their records or whatever. But I think it'll become more important to have more touch points across more places, like, you know, organic content, Instagram, organic TikTok, YouTube stuff, like be in Reddit threads, be everywhere. So you have the best chance of like ranking in places like that. But while you don't know how to rank there, like it's out of your control. So who really cares? Just focus on good content.
Yeah, I saw one hack tip, which was actually really good, which is that if there's any Reddit posts out there, or if there's any reviews out there that are talking shit about your brand, make sure you get a response in with the exact counter and why, because LLMs are just going to scrape it and then it's going to just serve it in responses. So if you go like, is MKTG Emails a bad agency? It's going to go and just scrape everything it can and come back to you and go, this person said this. And you're going to go, damn. But if there's a response as to why they were wrong, it might not serve it, or it will serve it with the response.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Growth hacks.
Yeah. I got them.
I mean, the SEO dork in me that has loved working in that side of our industry for a long time is still just like, you nailed it. It's like, we don't know how these systems work. Anyone that's proffering that they do is shifting snake oil. But if you just make really good, high quality content, it's like that's been the number 1, 2, and 3 hallmark of good SEO for over a decade.
Yeah.
So like, and just keep focusing on that, which ties straight back to our chat around organic content being really the major lever of just producing really cool things that people want to engage with.
Yeah. I think like what you said about brands before, some will use agencies, some will use in-house, some will use fucking whatever. It'll be the same with how people find your brand. It'll be some will love the in-person stuff, some will love the organic stuff, some will find you on Google, some will find you on ChatGPT. It's just like, you know, there'll be more ways to do it. I don't see like, I don't personally see it like being some crazy shift where all of a sudden like people only go to ChatGPT to shop like within the next few years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One final prediction. You've reminded us what your one for 25 was.
Final one is Amazon becomes more popular again. That was one of my 2025 predictions, yeah. And I think it just applies. Like, I think Amazon keeps growing market share.
Yeah.
In Australia specifically.
Yeah. It's weak here compared to the US.
Yeah, I was just in Canada, and even the tech difference in using it over there.
Yeah.
Where it's like you get your delivery and it's like, yeah, it's coming later today. And then you get this little bubble in the app. It's like the driver's 10 stops away. And then like see the van getting closer to your house on the app. And yeah, like they got the level of technology and like just how easy it is to get something to your door for effectively nothing is crazy. So when that arrives here, that'll definitely make a difference.
Yep. What about you?
Prediction. I'm just going to double down on the retail take. I think brands that double down on the in-person stuff in general, whether it's retail presence, activations, pop-ups, like community events, you know, it could be as simple as a run club, you know, mornings at the beach, like a pop-up with a UFC fighter, who knows? Like any community event, the brands who do that will win.
Yeah. The drinks brand that we were drinking before, Cadence, they do that really well. Yeah. They do run clubs all over the UK. And then 247 does it really well. I think they literally did an activation at the front of the office.
Yeah.
Like yesterday. Those people are crushing. They're doing like 100 mil rev, D2C and retail.
It's community. People buy into that and then the product sells itself.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up there. Thank you, gentlemen.
Done.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Angus.
Thanks for having me.